Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about one of the cooler features that LinkedIn has added recently. And some of you may actually not like this feature, and I think that's okay, but I do think it's a nice little way that if you take advantage of it, how you can actually get noticed using their new skill assessments and what you can do with those and why they're important so that your resume makes it through and while you're you start getting noticed, and how you might be able to overcome some of that HR firewall that is so rampant in the industry, especially for some of us self-taught developers. I want to take a moment to thank our long-term sponsor, Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp. Dev Mountain has various programs from iOS development to UI UX, full-stack web development, and quality assurance. I actually had the pleasure of visiting one of their campuses about 2 years ago in Provo when they still had a location there, and it was a fantastic experience just to be able to meet everybody, see the campus, and one thing that's unique about them is they actually include housing with their tuition. So if you're interested, check the link in the description below. So let's talk a little bit about some of the items that are part of the LinkedIn skill assessments. So what are they? They're basically 15-minute multiple choice questions where you get about 15 to 20 questions. They're currently limited to like English only, and it's something that is a new feature. And from what I can tell, they're taking a very iterative process with it. And so things I may be explaining now, it may be a different form or two, but my personal belief is that it's not going to change too much. So in the past, when you've been on LinkedIn, you have these skills and endorsements, right? So like, my number one skill that I'm endorsed for is JavaScript. So that's something that I've had, people endorse me. I have Quincy here endorse me, some previous colleagues, web development, AngularJS, so on and so forth. People who are, and that was one of the ways. But now what you can do is you can go and take an assessment on some of these those multiple choice questions, which will say, hey, you either passed this. And one thing to keep in mind that you may be afraid of is like, dude, I'm actually don't want to take this because I'm kind of afraid that I'll fail it. You don't worry about it. No one knows if you fail these items, and they don't show what percent you get. You don't even know, actually. It just tells you pass or fail. Because I took one today for CSS and I passed it, but I was like, yo, did I get all these questions right? Or because one of them, I had no idea what the question was. It was something that was so absurd. It was like, what's the difference between opacity and RGBA? And apparently, and I looked it up as I was doing it. Apparently, opacity has to do with, opacity is all the elements, including the children. Well, the RGBA, that alpha only impacts that specific element. And I was like, all right, that makes sense. That's cool. And then you can show it on your profile. I don't know why you wouldn't show it on your profile. That's what's sort of strange about me for this. But, a lot of great items that you can do this for technical skills that companies care about when you're handing in your resume. And in fact, I got referred for a role, and I was like, oh, sure, I'll apply, whatever, just for the shits and giggles. It actually LinkedIn sent me an email saying, hey, you should take these tests, these skill tests, because they care about that on their role. So if you've ever looked at roles on LinkedIn, they'll say, like, these are 10 skills that the recruiter is looking for. And if you have those skills, they can then go and see that you're a better fit, right? And I imagine from the recruiter standpoint, there's going to be some filtering and stuff like that makes it a little bit easier for you to stand out. Because you have to understand, I've talked with recruiters, and a lot of us like to play joke about them. But I've talked with the recruiters where they get hundreds of applicants for a job. Hundreds. Quite literally, they open a job up sometimes. And this isn't all jobs, and this is all dev jobs, or I'm not just talking about devs, but they get hundreds of applicants for jobs, and then they have to filter through, see who's actually a good fit. And if LinkedIn, which is probably the number one way or top 1 or 2 ways that recruiters go, if they have a way of saying, hey, this person has this, at least he or she has a checkbox, then to me it's sort of worth your 15 minutes to do one of these things. And they're not very hard. Some of them are a little wonky. I've done about 2 of them, and they ask sort of wonky questions at times that I don't think are valid questions, but that's just me. Again, I've only done 2, but I don't know who's writing these CSS and JavaScript questions. But one thing to keep in mind is that if you do fail it, you can take it again in about 3 months. So they're still working to create quite a few, but from a technical perspective, which is what we care about, these are all the items that you can actually go and test on as of today. Angular, AWS, Bash, C, C Sharp. So like ones that I'll be doing in the future, I'll be doing Angular. Did this one today. Bro. It's 2019. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. This shit like this can seriously. Dreamweaver, come on. Git, I'll be doing Git. I'll do an HTML. I already did this. I don't even know if I want to do this one. JSON seems like a strange one to have. But at the end of the day, if you should know JSON inside and out if you're doing web development, so that sort of makes sense. Object-oriented programming. And a couple others here. React. No love for the view, huh? Business skills and design skills. So you can see from a technical perspective, I think this is going to be growing quite a lot. And again, not everyone may have access to it. And you may be saying, I don't know, this or that. But and I'd show you a skill here. I just don't know if it breaks the user things. But it's literally a multiple choice question. And you get about a minute and a half each or something like that, or a minute each before you're forced to move on. So to me, this is a pretty cool feature on here because I know how hard it is for people to be able to get noticed, right? And this is something that April, who is, when we come back from Christmas break in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it is, she's going to start having, she's at the point where she's going to start filling out apps for that first junior level role and that internship and this and that. And oftentimes you need to have a strategy to how to get noticed. And these things that do nothing but help and require very little effort, could it not help you? Sure. Is it going to hurt you? Never. Absolutely never would it hurt you to take an hour and do 4 of these in the core things that are there. You know, you could go and do all of the, on that list that we were looking at, in total, I would say, for me, 1 for Angular, 2 for Git, 3 for HTML, 4 for JavaScript, 5 for jQuery, 6 for JSON, 7 for MongoDB, 8 for Node, 9 for object-oriented programming. That's it. I qualify for 9 that are relevant to me. A couple ones I could throw in there. I'd have to review React, NoSQL, MySQL. But generally speaking, I don't really work in React, MySQL, or NoSQL, and C Sharp. But most of those, if you do 1 a week, you could, and they're so quick. These aren't things that, the idea for these is not really to trip you up, right? You need to get a C- on them. And there are going to be some silly questions. The idea is for you to just go get that check mark. And it's kind of silly, but that's the way that a lot of this works, because you have to remember you're a stranger, right? When you're applying for jobs, they don't know you. That's why personal branding is such an interesting part of your career, and getting out there so people know who you are, is because then they get to see your qualities. That's why it's so important to maybe give conference talks, put some videos out there, some projects, because you're actually showing your quality of work. This is another way that you can, in a recruiter's eyes, show that quality of work and say, okay, well, yeah, maybe he or she doesn't have the years of experience we're looking for, but of these 10 skills, she has 8 of them that they've passed this assessment. So that to me is why this is here, is to get the recruiters to notice you. And I have no doubt in the future, from the recruiter point of view, this will be something that's very important that will help influence who they decide they want to move forward with, how high up your resume ranks, not counting if you do like their LinkedIn premium. That's always going to be the bread and butter for them, I imagine. But it's something I think is kind of cool, and I like that it's not a huge time investment, right? So if you have those high voted up skills that are, some of these technical ones, go and do them. I don't think there's any harm in it. 15 minutes of your time for something that could go and make you a $15,000 raise, or better benefits, whatever it is. And you do it once a year. Keep that in mind. So you got to be fresh, but it's not that big of a time commitment, and it's something that I know that when April's starting to apply will be something that I have her do in these technologies, because I want her to succeed. And it's the little things that add up. All these little things add up. Redoing your resume, doing these little skill assessments, making sure your LinkedIn's up to date, has all the projects, certifications, all that on it. All these things add up and tell your story as a developer, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to go from that no developer experience to developer experience, or even junior to mid to senior, senior tech lead, whatever it is, what you need to do is tell a story about how you are already qualified for the role, but perhaps you don't have the experience. And so when I'm going from my senior level role, there's a lot of these little things. And when I want to go from senior to tech lead, for instance, there's a lot of these little things that I'm doing now to help paint that picture of, well, Dylan's already a tech lead. He just doesn't have tech lead experience. And so little things like this can help you paint that picture no matter where you're at. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. That was a cool little thing they're adding. I'm interested to see how it continues to grow. Again, you may not have access to it. You can get, if you do, simply go to your profile, click on take a skills quiz, and select the ones that are relevant to you. I'll be doing a few more this week. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Courses like the 100 front-end interview questions challenge, make sure you're prepped for your interviews in the description below. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Hey guys, don't forget to hit that notification bell or smash that like button while you're at it. And if you're interested, I just released my latest course, the 100 Front-End Technical Question Challenge, which is there to help you pass those front-end technical interviews. There's over 100 questions. You can get it for just $9.99. The link is in the description below, or use coupon code CodingGod.